I thought I'd do something a bit different today. I want to tell you a story about homelessness. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining me again. Saw an article on the news today that they were going to pour £1 billion of funding into homelessness, basically distributing this among councils with the aim of tackling this issue, which, let's face it, has been going on for years. Now, I come from a background where what I have now wasn't always the case, and I was in a very precarious position some years ago and ended up in a position where I nearly ended up homeless. There was that much in it, and it was actually quite scary, and I wanted to give some appreciation to this cause. Now, a little while later in the video, I'll tell you statistically, how many families this affects, but let's roll back in time. Right now, I'm married, got a couple of kids, great family, live in my own house. It's all okay, but going back several years, probably to the mid to late, probably the mid 2000s, I bought a one-bedroom flat with my partner at the time, and within no time at all, she decided, nope, don't want to do this. Off she popped. To cut a long story short, I won't go into any more detail than that. But anyway, at the time, we were a couple of young people. We were on quite a nice bit of money, and in the end I was left with about £10 a month in my pocket, and that's not accounting for shopping. So as you can imagine, credit cards and everything else, they're living day by day by the seat of my pants. It was really quite something. And then I managed to get a job which paid quite well, which managed to steady the ship. I was starting to sort myself out, and the recession came, and I lost my job. The company I worked for went bust, and I ended up back in the position I was, no income, big worries about rising household bills, mortgage arrears, gas and electricity arrears. All these things build up, and what you do, you end up sticking your head in the sand and your head up your butt, and you think to yourself, maybe it'll go away if I ignore it, which of course isn't the case, is it? And eventually, of course, I ended up with a repossession order on my home, and I had to go to court. This was the point where I thought I was going to end up homeless. And my mum actually said to me at the time, come home. And I thought, no, I'm not doing that. I left, and I promised you I wouldn't be back. And that's the thing, I wouldn't be back. And I ended up going to court, and they wanted an explanation as to how I ended up in the position I was in. And at the time, I saw no hope, no chance, no way out of dealing with my situation. And I was resigned to the fact that I could well be sleeping in a bus shelter with it in the next couple of weeks, effectively making myself homeless. I ended up in a position where I had to vacate my home within a certain amount of time, and I started to look. I approached my local council, and they said to me, sorry, can't help you, single bloke on my own, low priority, all that sort of stuff. There was no help from the system. The system genuinely seems to fail those that are in need. And what I had to do in the end was help myself. I managed to get a one-bedroom flat a little bit up the road from where I lived. The area wasn't great. It was a sea view, and if I had more time, I wouldn't have done it, but I didn't have time. I didn't have the luxury of time, and I had to go to where I did. That was the thing. And the system failed me. There was no help at all. It was basically take, no relief, no nothing. And eventually, of course, I met my now wife, and we're set up fine. But not everybody is that fortunate. Not everybody is that lucky to be able to sort themselves out. And I remember at the time feeling helpless because everybody wanted to take something away from me that was mine. And I'm very much a believer in there's always possibilities. You can always rectify your situation if you try hard enough. You look at all the angles, but in this, I did feel generally hopeless. And, you know, as luck would have it, things turned around. But what about those that aren't so lucky? I mean, this statistic here, I'll read this line or two off the government website. With the worst housing crisis in living memory, around 40% of homeless families are living in B&Bs or nightly led accommodations. And the use of this emergency accommodation has doubled in 3 years. Many of these places lack basic facilities, leaving parents struggling to cook healthy meals for their children, while councils bear the mounting financial strain. Successive years of failure to invest in local preventative services has seen far too many homeless families forced into temporary accommodation for far too long, with a record number of 123,100 households including almost 160,000 children. The children, it's all about the children, isn't it, in that instance. Now, why does this happen? There are many people out there that mentally can't cope with their situation that they're in for whatever reason, and they do end up homeless, be it addiction issues, mental health issues, or anything like that. They just go completely kaput. You know, some veterans it happens to as well, and where's the support for them? You know, I hear stories about this all the time. The other thing as well, which is a biggie in my eyes, and, you know, I live in a rented house. After what happened to me, I doubt I'll ever own my own home again. But I've recently received a letter from my landlord saying that the rent's going up by £50 a month. How many people around the country have got one of those just before Christmas and worry about what's going to happen next? Electricity bills. It's another thing. Gas bills, the cost of shopping, running a car, children's clothing, all the necessities that are needed to run and have a decent kind of existence. I'm not talking about holidays or anything like that. I'm talking about the basic, let's put food on the table, let's look after our kids and everything else. Seems to be getting further and further out of reach, doesn't it? You tell me, do you think that leaving £1 billion of funding in this situation, throwing money at it effectively, will cure it? Or, like anything else, is there an underlying problem that could really make this continue verbatim? I think that's what they're good at, isn't it? The cause. They'd never ever get to the cause. They only treat the symptoms. Let me know in the comments. We need to have a comment read back video at some point. I've been sadly lacking with these. And I hope you enjoyed the little story and my thoughts on this. Let me know what yours are. Have a look at these videos that have just popped up. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.